governance is important from a national point of view, and after the banking crisis there was a very strong recognition in Ireland that the reputation of the country had suffered very serious damage. Our reputation as a country for a place to do business is extremely important because it influences investors' propensity to invest money in the country. So following that, there has been a very significant effort in raising standards of corporate governance in Ireland by regulators. And in fact, the regulators have tended to go a little bit beyond what is happening, let's say, in the UK, because there is a feeling that Ireland suffered so much damage that we have to be seen to just to go beyond the mere minimum. From a corporation's point of view, surprisingly, some businesses might still be a little bit resistant of having to engage in what they might see as being a little bit more bureaucracy. So there would still be a little bit of resistance to improving standards. But on the other hand, there is a recognition that the light touch regulation, the rather lax attitudes towards corporate governance, the Irish propensity to try to maybe get around the rules rather than implementing the rules in a robust way, that all of that did not stand us well, and we have come out one of the worst countries in the world in terms of how we've ended up with the banking crisis. My own, because we have to learn lessons from these events, and my own lesson is that as somebody who has and is a company director, that the kind of passive at a distance approach to corporate governance in the boardroom has to change, and that board directors have got to, so to speak, open the bonnet, put their hands down into the engine and make sure that they understand properly what is actually going on deep down within the organisation. I think good boards are ones where people are really engaged. I think nowadays directors attending board meetings have to give the board meetings the time, have to spend time in the business, have to make sure that they understand the business model. It's not the kind of passive corporate ritual that might have been seen to be the case in the past. Really understanding the engine, as I mentioned earlier, understanding what's really going on in the business, understanding the business model is absolutely key. There is one huge challenge in corporate governance, and that is that there are executive directors who work every day in the business. There are non-executive directors who come in only for board meetings. The executive directors know everything that's going on in the business, or should know. The non-executive directors only know what they are told in the boardroom. And on the banks, there were a lot of really excellent people who were directors of banks. And I do wonder myself at the extent to which they were being told really what was going on in the banks. So I think really good boards should focus on that issue, which is the information asymmetry problem between the day-to-day managers and the non-executives on the board. I think that's one of the biggest risks in corporate governance. A board is only as good as the information it gets, and there has to be systems in place to make sure that the board gets good information, and using that good information is more likely to make the right decisions. I should say that to be a director does not require you to have papal characteristics. You are not required to be infallible when you're a director, and in fact company law provides for errors of judgment. It is not illegal to commit an error of judgment, but if you have good information on a board, you are less likely to commit errors of judgment. I would say that it varies. I would say that I'm sure there are some absolutely top-class boards out there who are engaged in a real and meaningful way in the way that I speak about. And by the way, board engagement is not about just attending the meetings. There should be a lot of activity going on outside the meetings, preparing for the meetings, making sure that people know what's going on. The role of the chairman is critical there in making sure that the non-executives particularly are kept informed as to what's going on between meetings. So I think you know, the board engagement is very important, but there will still always be those who will pay lip service to the rules and who won't use the new regulations in the spirit in which they're intended.